My youngest son, Andrew Sterling Ashcraft, was a Wildland firefighter. He was a hotshot in Prescott, Arizona, for a crew, a Type 1 division crew, Granite Mountain interagency hotshots for the city of Prescott, Arizona. They lost their lives in Yarnell at the Yarnell Hill Fire on June 30th, 2013. 19 of the 20 crew members were killed.
I was 25 years old and 3.5 months pregnant when my husband, Granite Mountain hotshot William Warnicki, perished in the Yarnell Hill Fire on June 30th, 2013.
In so many places, the loss and the chaos that caused within families, within communities, was so large and so wide-sweeping. I don't think anybody, unless they've been through something like that, can understand what a big impact all this has on so many people. I can't put it into words. I can't describe it other than just a huge loss, a huge hole that causes just confusion on so many levels and with so many people.
I battled a lot with depression, suicidal ideation, nightmares, panic attacks. I had all of that for 1.5 years after his death.
I never in a million years thought I would lose Andrew. I never thought I would receive the phone call that he was dead. I never thought that my heart would be torn apart because I would never see my son again. I never thought that I would have to watch his wife go through such pain, or have to hold his children as they asked where their dad was and why isn't their dad coming home.
I had to balance the everyday life as well as going through all of the red tape that came with his death, but I also had to navigate a challenging pregnancy. I had to minimize a lot of the stress and anxiety that it was causing to my baby, to my unborn daughter. And for me, that's one of the hardest parts about being a widowed parent is my daughter, is having to continually explain to her what death is, but the differences between life and death, because a 4-year-old doesn't know that. The 4-year-old can't grasp it. And unfortunately, she's had to learn this at a very, very young age, where, most children, they're out there at the park, and with her, it's normal to go to a cemetery and play and run around and kind of make it seem like that's her park. And to me, that's very, very hard. But Billy Grace and I, we go out there and to the cemetery, we visit her daddy, because I want him to be incorporated into her life.
I love being around his children, but every once in a while, I look over at them and I think they will not feel Andrew's hugs, and he was a great hugger. They will not hear his laughter. They won't feel his strength, his wisdom, his courage, his ridiculous humor, his adventurousness. They won't have him reading them a story at night. And that's sad.
It's very hard for her to not know why her daddy can't come out and visit her. She just wants him to hug her, and when she's sobbing and she's crying out and saying that she misses him, it's heartbreaking. It crushes my soul, because I'm supposed to be her mom. I'm supposed to shelter her. I'm supposed to keep basically all of the bad from happening to her. And there was this one event that completely changed her life. and altered her perception, even though she had no control over it. I had no control over it.
I think a lot of firefighters in general just live their life always trying to improve. You're always trying to make tiny or big steps in order to improve your life, in order to improve the outcomes in your own life. And I think wildland crews, all firefighters do that same. They live their life that way. So you end up being on a crew full of people who are just focused on making things better, solving problems, fixing other people's problems, figuring out what went wrong in other fires and how we can do things better. And you can be on a crew like that, just like I was, and think about some of the greatest people that you've worked with that know how to solve problems and know they've spent their whole lives just like you trying to improve, and tragedy can still happen to anybody. It's not always within your hands, it's not always within your crew's ability. Even though you think we've always been improving, we've always been getting better, we've always been striving for the best, there are things that are just out of your control. Other crews, weather issues, all the things that you usually plan for, and then other things on top of that that you never even think about.
When you're a wildland firefighter and you're out there on the fire line, there are so many different hazards that come with the profession. It's not just fire entrapment, it's also getting hit by a snag, rattlesnake bites, getting nicked by a chainsaw. And I knew that these were dangers that were very real.
I think when I first started in Wildland, I never imagined being able to be hurt or injured on the fire line. It just never crossed my mind. And sometimes you'd see it happen to other people, but you'd see someone else get hurt, but you would just kind of file it away as something that happened to them and it couldn't happen to you. Maybe it was an age thing at the time, just being young and thinking that I was just indestructible. But you think that you couldn't get hurt or you could never find yourself in those scenarios. But it's not always you that you have to worry about. If you're with a crew and you're with people that you care about and someone else gets injured, it's never like you're going to leave them behind. You know, you're such a close crew and a close group, you would stay and help as long as you could. You'd push the limits of your own safety.
We saw a lot of tears, a lot of sadness, but we were blessed with the fact that Andrew and Julianne had their paperwork in order. They didn't have to go through the pain of not knowing what Andrew wanted. Dental records, medical records, a living will, all gave her wisdom that was needed, so she didn't have to try and find that information. It was right there.
So shortly after my husband passed away, there were a lot of different legal paperwork that I had to fill out to be able to document his death. So that would be from getting his dental x-rays and his medical records for body identifications. I had to provide financial statements, be able to get everything that we had for our life insurance together, to be able to contact them. For me, it was very easy to handle because my husband had a military background. He had his dental x-rays and his medical records set aside specifically for body identification. He had passwords to all of his financial accounts, told me where the life insurance policy was so that way I could easily find it. And I knew what he wanted done to his remains because it's something that we had spoken about.
I've seen both sides, people who had all the paperwork filled out, had backup plans in case anything happened for their family, and I've seen the other side where people just weren't prepared for that. You can't think that your employer is necessarily going to take care of you or your family. You have to take care of these scenarios on your own. Bosses change, places you work change, anything can happen, but as long as you're prepared and your family's prepared, it's going to set them up for the best possible outcome.
When it comes to family relationships, a lot of people don't think about how the dynamics will change. You might not know how your brother or your sister, your mom or your spouse, we don't know how anyone's going to react to a traumatic event. But I feel that it's important for everybody to know that it's possible that your spouse, that your child could be taken advantage of by others, even by your own family members. It is something that I have experienced. It's something that I have witnessed.
your family would be in a stressful situation beyond belief, and it'd just take away some of that stress that they would have if it was already taken care of, if it was already dealt with. Anything that could be dealt with is just one less thing that they're going to have to stress about or even think about. It gives an opportunity for you guys to talk over things, to figure out what kind of plans you would like to have, what kind of things you would like to see, and maybe take another step and get even more paperwork filled out for them, get other ways to help them in this scenario. It gets the conversation started, and it also gives your family one less thing they have to worry about. I think a living will is a great idea. It takes the responsibility off of your loved ones because you've already made the choices that you feel are the best for you. I think that's something that you don't want them to have to deal with in a time like that.
We watched wives that had no paperwork, nothing prepared. They couldn't find dental work. They couldn't find medical records. They didn't know what their husbands' or fiancés' wishes were. They questioned if what they were doing was what their loved one truly wanted. We saw the pain and loss. Things happen out in the field. Please be prepared. I know that filling out these forms is not the way you want to spend your afternoon, but please take the time to fill out the information. Please take these few minutes and make sure that your loved ones know where it is. And then go out, fight the fire, enjoy your work, enjoy your family, and know that with the peace of mind, you've cared for them.
It's been about 4.5 years since his death, and I still haven't learned how to cope with it. It's not something you learn or you are equipped to handle. So I'm not numb to the pain. I haven't gotten over it. It's something that is going to be a part of me, just like it's going to be a part of my daughter's life as well. The reality is that you might not come home. How do you want your children taken care of?